Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome.
Good
Welcome.
evening.
It is I, your boy, Animarchy. And I am joined by my ever-suffering comrade.
Ever suffering. I
Say
like that.
hello,
That sounds
Evie.
right.
Say hello.
Hello, chat.
Evie is here. My co-host of Anime Roulette. The man who runs the Anime Roulette channel, in fact. Slava Ukrainia, indeed. Although, not for very long. Things are about to get a bit sketchy in old Ukraine. Uh, that's right, boys and girls. We are invading the Soviet Union. Can we do what Mustache Man failed to do? There is the question.
Well, if you remove your ego from it, you're already off to a good start.
Well, there you go. This is not Hoi 3. This is the biggest war game ever made. It is Gary Grigsby. That's right, your boy's back. Gary Grigsby's War in the East. I have wasted so many hours of my life playing this. So many hours. Krieg in der Osten. It simulates the entire Eastern Front on a turn-based system down to the rifle squad. Don't believe me? Check this out. I can zoom in. So here we go. The 253rd Infantry Division. As you can see, shows me everything I got, what I've got with me. It simulates everything. Literally everything. Down to the rifle squad. There it is. Look at it.
But does it simulate the horses?
Yes, actually.
that
It is the most accurate.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
It is the most accurate depiction of World War II in the East in video game format that has ever been made.
You mean Hoi 4 isn't the most historical game ever made?
Oh. Hoi 4 is, Yep. The minor Axis powers are represented. We will go down here. So here we have the Romanians.
Quick, look for the Croatians.
Oh, they come up as a volunteer legion at some stage.
It does not surprise me.
Oh no, Croatia's here.
Yeah! Ustasha representation. Horrible.
There's Sarajevo, Belgrade. We've got Italian units here. The Italian Expeditionary Corps here. We haven't got Croatian Volunteer Corps, I think, are a German unit, Wehrmacht unit. Go up.
That wouldn't surprise me. If I recall correctly, wasn't there a Croatian unit involved at the Battle of Stalingrad?
There was indeed.
They, and if I recall correctly, weren't they the ones that tried to alert the Germans that the Russians were pushing across the River Volga, only to be told by the Germans to shut the fuck up and stop being hysterical?
Yes, indeed. The Croatians made it, believe it or not.
Oh, we've got a real patriot, a real anti-Croat patriot in the chat with a throw him in the pit joke.
Drop in the pit.
Incredible meme.
Incredible
Timeless,
meme.
even.
Timeless meme. Yep. Oh, but it's not just the Hungarians. It's not just the Romanians. It's not just the Italians or the Croatians. We have the based boys. We have the most based of boys. That's right. There they are. Certified Giga Chads. Yo, my childhood hero is in the chat. Sup, Gamera, guardian of the universe. My boy. Someone has taste. Someone has taste. Someone has taste. 90s Gamera is better than all of Godzilla. And I will stand by that.
Oh, them's are fighting words.
Oh, they are fighting words, but I stand by it. In case anyone was wondering, the Giga Chads, Helsinki is there. Lati is there. Behold, the Finns.
Spanish Foreign Legion's too busy committing
War crimes.
crimes against humanity against people in Spain.
Camera, ikatuta camera. Thank you. I don't know if anyone has ever seen it, but if you've ever heard the Ghost Stories dub, it might interest you to know that when Gamera vs. Legion got licensed in the West, the guys who did the Ghost Stories dub did the dub for Gamera vs. Legion. And they redid the whole movie and set it in Texarkana.
Where else would it be?
Oh, God's got to fit that giant turtle out there. Perkele, indeed. We're going for it. Anyway, first things first. Wasn't there a few SS divisions made up entirely of occupied countries volunteers? Yes, there were. Specifically these ones. Well, initially these ones. So we've got Latvia, Estonia, and Lithuania.
Knock knock is the United States. This is the East. There is no freedom here. Take your silly notions of freedom away.
It's just, you know, you've got the Nazis on one side and tankies on the other. You're really not winning at this point. Let's be honest here.
This is when we start speak. This is when we start speaking like 90s Western economists and start talking about the inherent authoritarianism of the Russian mind, the backwards Slavic brow that is incapable of handling a free market economy.
Well, in fairness to that mindset, the Russians haven't exactly given much evidence to the contrary in terms of, like, they've adapted to the free market economy well enough. They're very good at it. But the whole
They also saw the horror of unregulated capitalism firsthand in the 90s.
Which created Putin. Thank you very much.
Yeah, why is Putin referred to as the great savior? Don't look into what they were doing in the 90s that would cause people to remember him like that. A lot of child prostitution. That is the answer.
Oh. Putin's oligarchy buddies got rich for a reason. Organized crime is a wonderful thing.
It's incredible when you create a problem and then when you inadvertently create a dictatorship that you can then blame it on the people who you put it on. Weird.
Like Prigozhin, for example. Who may or may not have gotten out of prison because the Soviet Union collapsed. Yeltsin, what a guy.
No, he was totally legit. Don't talk down on everyone's favorite alcoholic.
Yeah, but the thing is about Russian political life is if you can track it, with the exception of 1917 and to a lesser extent 1991, because it was sort of a spontaneous action brought about by the destabilization of the Eastern Bloc as a whole. The Russian political consciousness has been pretty much feudal the entire time. It's not like you talk to Russians today and they still do the same thing. If you look at the 1420 project, it's pretty much the same thing. It's just like, I don't want to talk about politics, either because it's too dangerous or they just don't care.
The 1420 project better not be like the 1619 project, or well, I never.
Basically, you talk to Russians about politics and they either don't want to talk about politics because they don't want to say it publicly, or they don't care. They completely depoliticize. Why? Because politics to a Russian is completely irrelevant. Politics to Russians has been irrelevant for like 90% of their existence, because it's just like, which warlord / party official am I paying off, and who is going to make sure I have food in the local store? That's all they really care about, and it's been that way for hundreds of years, because every time the Russians have tried to have political agency, some guy with "in" at the end of his name comes in and goes, actually, no. Do we get to vote? Yes, but actually, no. Lenin says, hey,
Gorbachev.
don't let
Gorbachev couldn't have been the leader after the 90s. He was too busy filming fucking Pizza Hut commercials.
Yeah, like, really, honest to God, it's been like that. Like, every time, like, it's a joke from ERB, Epic Rap Battles of History, but it really is true. Every time someone with "in" at the end of the name comes along, things tend to get a bit sketchy. Like, Lenin was pretty good, and he specifically writes in his letters, hey, don't let that Stalin guy get in charge. Which is immediately followed by that Stalin guy getting in charge. And the funniest thing is, everyone, and then you have the other half of the tankies who are like, oh nah, but that Trotsky guy would be better. And as I always say, Trots aren't mad about the gulags and the genocides. Trots are mad that they didn't get to do the gulagging and genociding. There's a big difference. I used to be one, I can tell you. Trots suck. If you see a Trotskyist, leave. Okay? Just leave. Just immediately eject yourself from the conversation.
What do you mean? You don't want to support the people who like the guy who was super into gas weapons?
Incidentally, speaking of gas weapons, time to unleash the Luftwaffe. Away, my pretties. Away. So, right now, our Air Force is strafing the Soviet airfields. And, all the Russian aircraft are parked side by side because no one thought maybe of dispersing their aircraft against a fascist regime that specifically calls for your extermination. Because there's no way they're going to attack you first, right?
Surely not.
Incidentally, can we get a big thank you, Uncle Joe, in chat for the last shipment of fuel and grain that arrived half an hour ago? Can we get a thank you, Uncle Joe, in chat? Because we just got a shipment of grain and fuel from him like half an hour ago before this all kicked off. So everything's cool. It's not like the Soviets and the Germans were allied or anything at all. Like, nope.
One of the most interesting I say interesting things about the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact is that it basically led to the Soviets restricting like anti-Nazi propaganda within the Soviet Union. But this had a really nasty unintended consequence during Barbarossa. This consequence was a bunch of Jewish people living in the west of the USSR, once the invasion began, didn't immediately run like fucking hell.
So Trotskyists are wannabe tankies. Yes. Yes, they are.
Yeah, there's an argument to be made. The thing is I don't think they could go full tank. Like, they can't embrace power like tankies because they just start referring to things as degenerated worker states. After all, we all know of the most important Trotskyist state in the world right now, which is Venezuela.
Oh, yes, of course.
Much to the absolute chagrin of every Trotskyist on the planet.
Not only do we have the Lord Hard Thrasher in chat, we have Dylan Burns TV himself in chat too. Hi Dylan, how you going, buddy? Yeah, so yeah, the old saying for Trotskyists is two Trotskyists walk into the bar. There is a massive debate about dialectics. They start off agreeing and then eventually start disagreeing and end up hating each other. And so 2 Trotskyists walked in and 3 new parties walk out.
Hold on. Let's put the Trotskyist map in the chat, shall we?
Get the Trotsky map.
All right. So, chat, you'll see me post a link. Use that link to see a list of Trotskyist splits in just the US locale, I believe.
Oh, do you have the JPEG of it, like the picture of it?
Yes, I do. That's what I'm posting. Oh, do you want to like put it up over the stream?
I'll put it up over the stream. I'll show people.
Yeah.
DM that bitch to me. There, there it is. There it is. All right. For those of you wondering, this is a map. This is a map of Trotskyist parties. This is a map of Trotskyist parties in the United States. So, give it a second to show up. Oh, it's fantastic. It just keeps going. It just keeps going.
There was this amazing piece of communist, like, it was like a party like brochure or something that had communist humor in it, and there was like this joke flowchart where you had to like name the Communist Party, and so like there was like internationalist, Workers' Party, and a bunch of like adjectives that socialist like split parties throw in front of it.
Okay, so as you can see on the left here, so it starts off as the Communist Party of USA, the Feds, in other words. The Trots get expelled and turned into the Communist League of America, which then merged with the American Workers' Party to form the Workers' Party of America, which then merged with the Socialist Party of America. The Independent Socialist League merges with the Socialist Party of America. They form the Socialist Workers' Party, ex-Trotskyist Castroist. And so they split after the Cold War kicks off into 2 or 3 major branches. And then you have the Spartacist League. The Spartacist League are so fun.
The Spartacists are like one of the few trot groups that I actually have some sympathy for, just because they're so fucking funny.
The Spartacist League chat, for your information, the Spartacist League chat are literally the guys who said, and I quote, critical support for ISIS against American imperialism.
They also, it's really important to note that if you went around Melbourne in the 90s, 80s, in the 80s, you'd find the Spartacists the Spartacists fundraising so they could go join the Soviets in Afghanistan.
Spartacist League. Oh, they're so funny. Critical support for ISIS against American imperialism is still one of the greatest takes I've ever seen.
It's so funny that, like, if you go far enough with Trotskyism, you just come up with some absolutely deranged stuff. Why can't our Trots be fun like that? No, instead all they do is harass teenagers.
Yeah, we've got socialist alternative. Oh, God. God. Anyone who has any experience on an Australian university campus will know about Socialist Alternative. They are the worst. Thank you, Hard Thrasher. Yes, Socialist Alternative. Anyone who's been on a university campus anywhere has had run-ins with Socialist Alternative. They are...
See, the right can't help themselves. They steal every bit of our culture, including our ability to split the party.
Yup. Well, the air campaign is over, so let's have a look at the info screen. Let's have a look at losses. So, if we look at air losses, we have lost 11 fighters, 4 dive bombers, and 6 level bombers. So we've lost 21 aircraft. The Soviets have lost 2,254 aircraft. We caught them on the ground. So, with that, let us start the game. So, realistically speaking, I'm going to go through my strategy here just for everyone. Spartacus League would unironically support the Covenant in Halo. No, the Posadists would. No, Posadists wouldn't. Because they're theocrats. The Monterists would. The Monterists are a weird, different group of trots. They are...
The Monterists are incredibly based, I would say. Do you know if they have any connection to the Rosicrucians? I think it would be really interesting to do like a breakdown of their connection, see if they've got any connection. Because they seem like they'd be someone affiliated with the Rosicrucians.
They're an interesting bunch. The Monterists sponsored Marianne Williamson in the Democratic presidential race. They still do.
You might need to put in the description. Oh, did you put it in the description what you're playing? And in the title.
We're playing Gary Grigsby's War in the East, Kriegen der Osten, and we are just about to start. The Monterists are a Brazilian movement, and they've got a couple thousand. They're not too big. So, in case anyone's wondering, the plan is pretty straightforward. We're going to be focusing not so much on gaining territory. Our primary goal is to encircle and destroy as many Soviet units as possible. Once we destroy as many Soviet units as possible, our next major goal is going to be the capture of Leningrad. We want to capture Leningrad right here and force a breakthrough that will allow the Finns to regain their territory that they lost to the Russian Empire after the revolution. Right? So the Finns have a further advance point. So the Finns can't attack, right? They can't attack past this point. But they can hold territory here. So if I wipe out the Soviet garrison in Leningrad, I can move Finnish units up here to cover the northern front. And if I keep the Finns dug in along here, covering this area of the front line, I can then redeploy Army Group North to the south. And use Army Group North and Army Group South to take the oil fields. That's the idea. We take Stalingrad, which is here. Secure the Volga. Take Baku. Cut off the Caucasian front. And once we take Leningrad and Stalingrad and secure the oil in Crimea, and keep a stable, singular front as much as we can, our final offensive, perhaps in 1943 or 44, before D-Day kicks off, hopefully, will be Moscow. So unlike the Germans, I'm actually going, rather ironically, with Adolf Hitler's plan, which is to destroy the Soviet army in the field, and then secure the natural resources required to maintain the war effort while prosecuting the final assault on Moscow later on in the war. As opposed to bum rushing for Moscow like a moron, because taking the capital will win the war, obviously. Because that's how it works, right? Leningrad's the way to go. We're doing it without
Would
Japanese help, boys.
France be disappointed with your government?
Franz Halder is a fucking moron, and I don't really care. In fact, can I fire him? Can fire him.
Lenin who?
Who can I put in charge?
How do I...
I'm going to put Günther von Kluge in charge of OKH instead. Alder, you're fired. There you go. Fuck off. Alright. We've just fired Halder. Step 1. Alright. I'm sure Hard Thrasher will like that in chat. Hard Thrasher will appreciate that.
Thrasher is complaining in the chat immediately, yeah.
He's just like, yes. Ah, yes. Steiner shall lead the attack. Alright, guys. First attack of the game. Let's go. Alright, we're going to use a determined attack here to break the line here. Force him out.
Put Halder on the front line.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we need to clear these guys out because we have to clear these guys out so we can get the engineering teams to build the railways up.
Prepare the bunker, the leader's bunker. Enver Hoxha intensifies.
Tell me.
Freda brought up on Twitter today that, like, whenever people make comparisons to totalitarianism, all they ever do is compare it to Hitler and the Soviet Union. But it would be way better if people started comparing it to, like, small-time, like, dictators. And then all I've been thinking about all day is, like, if Trump started comparing the Democrats to, like, weird, like, Latin American dictators in, like, the 80s.
Could you imagine, though? Like, could you imagine, like, Enver Hoxha memes? Enver Hoxha memes or something else. If you guys don't know who Enver Hoxha is, he is one of the most interesting characters of the Cold War, in my opinion. I am not putting Paulus in charge of anything. Paulus is in charge of making the coffee. If we had any coffee, which we don't. I'm not letting Paulus do anything.
Biden is just like Idi Amin. See, that's what I'm talking about. Like, we really gotta amp up the pace. Ah, fuck. Where was the one I found earlier that I, like, rigged up? Hold on. You good to do your Trump voice for us, Pag?
I like it's a multifaceted impression. You gotta. I'm not very good. I'm not the greatest. I am the greatest, but I'm not the greatest at doing his voice. You know what I mean? But
All right, yeah, you're not like mushy, but
no, Mushy is superior. Where is like Mushy? The
there you
problem,
go.
the problem
Look in
with
your
Mushy
DMs.
is problem with Mushy, and I'm probably insulting him by saying this, is he has arch leftcom brain. Because like his recall of obscure theory written in the 1950s by one author that no one's ever read is absolutely phenomenal. How that man reads so much, I don't know. I can't read socialist theoreticians for too long before I get violently angry and want to throw their book across the room. Thank you, Walamia. I hate you, but here's some money.
You're the person who just brought up Haiti. You are thinking of Mataya, who was a gang leader in the 2004 Haiti rebellion.
Oh.
What is the rate of alcoholism amongst Russians on the front lines of Ukraine?
Very high.
We can extrapolate from the fact that Russia had really high levels of alcoholism during the Soviet Union, but then when it went, it post into the free market shock therapy, the rates skyrocketed by, I think it was like 300% increase in alcoholism. And at a 1,000% increase in drug abuse. So think about that and then apply that to this conflict, and you have a good idea of the sort of level of alcoholism.
Oh. This is the not very interesting part. We're just sort of smashing our way through the Soviet lines right now.
Well, at this point, Stalin's still hiding in his room, right?
Yeah. In fact, Stalin even doesn't know this is going on. He thinks it's just maneuvers. And they are maneuvers. Very aggressive maneuvers. Into Russia. Pretty based. Let's go. The key to this is to not use your tanks. And I know that sounds a bit weird, but trust me, that is the key to this. Don't use your tanks. Your tanks are not for fighting. Your tanks are for driving. They go places. They go vroom vroom.
Have you tried the Spearhead DLC for Arma 3?
Not yet. I'm wondering if my boys in ASOT are gonna go do that. I will say this though. In case you guys all saw my community post, if you want to know whose fault that community post was, he is here with us.
What?
I didn't see you're the
post.
one.
Hold on,
you're
I need
the
to go
one
see the community post.
Responsible for that.
Oh. Yeah, I'm responsible for that.
And it was terrible.
Someone's requesting, could you turn the unit selection audio down a little bit?
Okay. I was wondering if that was going to be a problem. Administration. Preferences screen. Sound effects volume. So we'll just do it without sound effects. Or can I custom it? Sound effects volume. Actually, we can turn down the mouse click volume, but we can keep the sound effects. There we go. So we go that one. Ivy is responsible for me watching Fruits of Grigsby, and I'm okay. So there will probably be at some point a video on my Anime Roulette channel about Fruit of Grigsby because it has, in my opinion, the dumbest arc of anime I have ever witnessed. And think about how dumb anime gets, right?
No, you've got the opposite complaint that you've turned it down too much.
Oh, fuck.
Sound design.
Alright.
I don't understand what I'm supposed to do here. Blown away, you're absolutely correct. Grigsby is a classic, and I will not hear any complaints.
Not only no.
No, I mean, I'm talking about the visual novel. Even though the first visual novel is deranged, and the second visual novel is deranged, and the third visual novel is also deranged. Okay, I know I'm saying deranged a lot, but it's a lot of fun.
Dude, Grigsby was just... No, dude. Like...
Gundam also has a character called Community Rights Violation. I can't even say the name on stream.
Is that a Gundam? Yeah.
His name begins with Quattro, and then a word that I can't say.
Ah. So basically what's happening right now is we are encircling the primary defensive force here. We're going to capture all of these Soviet units right here. And we're doing it by making our drive all the way up. So... we want to get across this river, boys. We want to ford the river. So we've secured that river crossing. We've forced these guys back. We have control of this area.
Nothing's ever gone bad
here.
with the rivers in Russia.
Nope. And we want to take Riga as well. Riga's going to be a bit of a bitch. Taking Riga on first turn is generally pretty difficult, but... we're going to use our motorized element to clear the way, as it were. And then we're going to use the Panzer divisions to hit the city itself. And there we go. Even though we didn't take it, we did take the city, but we haven't got a unit on it. Point is, we've cut off the peninsula, we've secured Riga, forced them out. We got that on first turn, so that's good.
Rude, Henrik. I'm not Falcon.
No. We have Ivy with us. Ivy has far more cultured anime taste than Falcon. By which I mean hipster taste.
Rude.
Tell me I'm wrong. Is Rasputin simulated? Yes, it is. I am scared. I need an adult.
You always need an adult.
I'm not one. That's the problem. Trying Steel Division 2. Got any tips? Keep your units alive. And I know that seems like pretty self-explanatory, but trust me, like, it's actually, like, good advice. Keep your guys alive. Don't recklessly throw guys into attacks. Take advances cautiously and seriously. And see that? This is the fort of Brest-Litovsk. This held out for several days, like for over a week, like 2 weeks or something in real life. I'm going to hit it with 3 infantry divisions. Oh, they held out.
I mean, when it comes to this kind of game, they kind of have to be inclusive. Everyone, like, you'd lose all of the people who are obsessive over, like, the minutia of these conflicts if you didn't have every minor detail in this simulator.
Correct. People like me. Well, I'm just going to use the infantry divisions then. Fuck it. Brest-Litovsk falls. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Which means your boy can do a pure infantry advance. And it's great. Now, if I wanted to be a real Giga Chad right now, like a proper gamer, I could redivert Army Group South. I could redivert 4th Panzer to Army Group South initially and do a massive encirclement of Lviv. If I wanted to be a Giga Chad. You know what? Actually, probably not a bad idea. Because otherwise I'll be sitting up here doing nothing. This to Hoi 4. I'm like, this is me when I turn around to people like Stakuyi with like 50 bajillion hours in Hoi 4. And I'm just like, you are but a child in the face of my power. You know what I mean? Like, this is where I'm at.
I know I say it every time we talk about Hoi 4, but I'm never going to forgive the damage that Hoi 4 has done to history. Having someone literally cite Hoi 4 in a history tutorial was one of the worst experiences of my goddamn life.
You see, all I needed to do to complete Operation Sea Lion is to rush submarines into the channel and then force the depletion of the oil reserve, and then I can launch my naval invasion. That works. Know what I'm saying? Sea Lion is so easy. Sorry. That's the start of Ivy's book, ladies and gentlemen. Hearts of Iron 4 and its consequences have been a disaster.
Hoi 4 and its consequences have been a disaster for humanity. Well, the history profession, I guess, would be probably the correct thing. Because the way I phrased it would imply that most people listen to history, and as we learn every day, we are surrounded by people who want to know history in the dumbest way possible.
I tell you guys, one of these days, I'm going to fight Sean. I know I always say it, but I'm going to do it.
I'd say it's the like there is a lot of people who, and it's not entirely because of this, it's just a side effect of it. People who genuinely believe that history follows this like very particular linear progression because of the prevalence of like tech tree writing in like popular history. Like, oh yeah, if any culture dumps enough into like this thing, then they're gonna develop this particular historical path.
I need to get Saf on here and get her going on guns, germs, and steel.
Guns, germs, and steel is a fucking garbage work by an idiot fucking fake ass historian who deserves to be shot out of a cannon into a volcano.
You and Saf get along. Lady Saffron's a VTuber friend of mine, and the arch nemesis of my mod team, because she is the only VTuber I relentlessly stan, and it's because she's hashtag our guy, like literally. If you haven't seen a Saf stream, you need to. You get Saf talking about her various historical beefs. It is the funniest thing. The only thing funnier is talking to Cleo, who's a medieval historian. She's also a VTuber. She does lectures on medieval history on her stream sometimes.
Based.
Call it the Dark Ages.
You say the word Dark Ages and I'm gonna box your fucking ears.
Call it the Dark Ages and just watch Cleo lose her mind. Oh. You should watch Saf and you should also watch Cleo. They're Paradox Gaming VTubers. They do EU4 and Crusader Kings. Cleo is branching into Stellaris, and I'm proud of her. She is also 4 years cancer-free, as of yesterday, which we're very happy to hear. And they are fantastic and wonderful. And much smarter than me. I am small brain World War II YouTuber. Because as Ivy can attest, military historians are inferior Untermenschen. We are not worthy of being true historians.
That's right.
We're inferior. Right. The social historians are true gamers.
I mean, I wouldn't even necessarily argue like a strict social historian, but like like a focus on like social history is required. I wish we could get a fraction of the resources into that space that you can for conflict history, but it is what it is. Unfortunately, I cannot wear a Roman helmet and just say dumb shit all day.
Now here's my take. Now, if you want my take, what my big thing is, and I know it's a bit rich coming from a guy who likes doing bios and epics, but great man history and its consequences have been a disaster for military historians everywhere, and I hate it. Well, if only Patton or Rommel had been in charge. No! No! It's not how this works.
What if we simply shuffled history's characters around like fucking fan fiction? Then we can really shut the fuck up.
No, what's great is Arton Shea films, when he talks about his military history, Johnny Reb, his Confederate co-host that he plays, what if William Tecumseh Sherman had just spontaneously combusted at the Battle of Shiloh? What if he just randomly died?
What if Abraham Lincoln got assassinated in 1850? Why was he assassinated? He pissed off his wife's best friend.
Oh, God. Great thing about us being historians, Ivy, like, our powers of rant are just uncontrollable. All I need to do now is get Laserpig in here and talk about Heinz Guderian, especially seeing as I'm commanding Heinz Guderian's 2nd Panzer Group right now. In fact, I am controlling Heinz Guderian as we speak right now. This is 2nd Panzer Group, and I'm redirecting him south early, because fuck you, Heinz. Going to Moscow won't change anything. Mustache Man, begrudgingly, was absolutely correct in this case. Napoleon took Moscow, and like, what happened? Did the Russians just all suddenly go, oh no! Our capital is gone! We are vanquished!
To respond to Kapitan Zihi Holyova, don't get us started on high school history books, because we're Australians and we have spent the last, 2 decades waging war because a conservative prime minister decided that history only needed to be taught in terms of dates and events, which is an absolutely shocking way to teach history.
Oh, yes. Do you remember that time that colonial-era Australia did nothing wrong?
I love viewing history as just a series of events keep happening. I love it when things just happen.
You want to know Australian history class? I'll tell you Australian history class. The First Fleet lands. A gold rush happens. And then World War One. And then you spend 6 months on the World War One unit. World War One is just it. And you would think that'd be fun, but no, it's about how our brave Anzacs had a donkey.
Yeah, we spend so much time on that stupid fucking donkey that was made up. There were obviously donkeys at Gallipoli, but and then you grow up and you find out, oh, that fucker Churchill knew we'd fucking died, knew there was no strategic purpose to it, but he still sent us anyway, because he viewed us as bloody provincials.
And in fairness, we fucking took that cliffside guarded by machine guns. Thank you very much. It sucked, but we did it.
I still maintain that remember that article we read that maintained that Australia's presence in Gallipoli was actually to stop the Armenian genocide?
Yes. Britain. Famous for stopping genocides the world over.
Also, we were on the wrong side of the country to stop the Armenian genocide.
What would we even do? Oh no, please stop. Wait, choose life.
Oh, Australia is never interfering in Indonesian politics. No, sirree. No, never. The USA definitely didn't intervene in Indonesian politics and leave 2 million people dead.
My dad definitely still doesn't suffer from PTSD directly interfering in Indonesian politics.
Oh boy. And then spicy territory now, baby.
We definitely didn't launch military interventions into Indonesian territory throughout the 70s and 80s. What are you talking about? We wouldn't do that.
Australia doesn't really wish it could be imperial, but can't because it's too fucking, like, shitly, like, built up.
No. Absolutely not. Perish the thought. There is absolutely no way we'd be like that.
There is no war in Canberra.
Oh god. I know you're doing it for the bit, but hearing an Aussie say it like that actually hurts my soul just a little bit. Just, god damn. You Americans watching, just so you know, it's Canberra. Like,
yeah,
literally.
like you're saying bruh.
Bruh. God, if the Romanians would let me station stuff here. White on rice, but no. You know what? Fuck it. Eat a dick. Get deliberate attacked, son. Well.
Louisville is pronounced Lovell. Lovell. The funniest thing about Australia's time in Vietnam is that it left like an indelible mark on Australian consciousness, but like at the same time,
It gets ignored.
yeah, it's like Korea, right? Like everyone refers to Korea as the Forgotten War, which I maintain that out of all of the historical like war maps, that Korea has some of the funniest, like just like flat out. You know, watching North Korea almost win, then South Korea almost winning, then North Korea evening it out. Incredible war that left so many people dead. Just an awful, awful conflict. And yet, very, very out of the public consciousness.
What's amazing I find about Korea is the fact that it just sort of, it has, like, when you look at Korea in like the public consciousness, no one remembers it. Like, it's just a war that happened, right? And then
It
when
sure
you
did happen.
and then when you look at it in like its geopolitical impact, it's so fucking huge, yet nobody talks about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's still got consequences going on to this day.
Right now, like literally right now.
I mean, there was that fucking American soldier who ran across the demilitarized zone the other day into North Korea.
Homie defected, just straight up. Nah, man.
He defected because he committed a felony. Like, committed a crime, knew he was fucked, and was like, well, better to risk my chances with the North Koreans.
Could you imagine?
Might be the only time that phrase is ever said.
Could you imagine if that actually works out? Actually, you know what would be even funnier? If Kim Jong-un and the boys are just like, hey, so what did you do?
Oh, God.
Hey,
Could you imagine? Could you imagine? Oh, I was harassing South Koreans. Oh. Please come into this room and face the wall.
Oh, it would be absolutely hilarious if they turn around and like, oh no, that's a legitimate crime and extradite him to the United States. That would be the funniest shit. Oh well. Looks like this is turn one. I've encircled Minsk, cleared Riga, secured a crossing across the Dagush River. Well,
unfortunately, the Korean War isn't sexy like World War II. Honestly, I think a lot more people should probably romanticize World War II less than they do. Like, you're right. You're absolutely right. There is this, like, mysticism around World War II. But, it's not like, you know, Vietnam or Korea. No, that's a fucking lie. There was more ordnance dropped in Korea than fucking in World War II entirely, so that's not strictly true.
Also, I would like to say that anyone who says that the Korean War isn't sexy from a military history point has never looked into it. The Korean War from a military history standpoint is very sexy. There is so much cool shit going on in terms of like technology, battles. Operation Chromite, like the landing at Incheon, is like absolute madness. Also, Douglas MacArthur's plan to nuke the border to create a radioactive wall to stop the Chinese from advancing.
No, that wasn't Douglas MacArthur who came. Wasn't that the Dulles brothers?
No, Douglas MacArthur. I'm pretty sure that was Douglas.
Oh no, they were. I'm wrong. They were proponents of it.
They supported it. Douglas MacArthur was like, "Yo, nukes for days."
Let's like create an irradiated border between fucking Korea and China. No. You can really see that like insane OSS behavior in that sort of like idea. Like OSS was such a deranged fucking organization. Like people talk about how insane the CIA is, but that's because they inherited it from the fucking OSS. I often see the OSS romanticized a little bit, but they were a bunch of lunatics who were LARPing as spies in a lot of ways.
Well, first things first. Let's fly air recon and find out where the Russians are.
Like, oh yeah, like from like your perspective as a naval big fan of naval operations and naval stories. Do you know that OSS ruined months worth of code breaking from the US Navy?
Yes, famously. For the same reason that like the fucking Ultra intercepts were so highly guarded, is because the big thing about intelligence is if you act on it too brazenly, what's going to happen is the Germans or the Japanese are going to be like, yo, hey, that was supposed to be a secret, and we were pretty sure it's a secret, and now it's not. So, like, sorry, bro. Yeah.
Also, like, obtaining said, like, information in an exceptionally high-profile way Yeah, no shit. Like, because they broke into a Japanese embassy in Portugal to steal this code book. And the Navy had just, like, broken the code. And the Japanese were like, oh, this code book has been stolen. Oh, better change our codes. Ruined. Months of work just down the drain because OSS was so gung-ho.
I mean, you know, you gotta really hand it to them. Like, they're motivated and dedicated, my man. You know, you just gotta respect the hustle, as they say. Respect the hustle. All right. Now we can go one or two things. We can take Kiev on the march, or we can do a mass Actually, ¿por qué los dos? Like, why don't we do both? I don't want to move the airfield. I want to move the motorized battalion.
Honestly, Gamma, like, you're so right, especially with, like, how the CIA utilized LSD. There is nothing more terrifying to me than the idea of, like, doing CIA LSD.
We're gonna...
Because apparently that shit is, like, 8 times stronger than regular LSD.
Alright. I'll leave you here. Them down here. What? We should be good here. What?
Yeah, MK Ultra is definitely up there with good names. Operation Paperclip is a surprisingly good name for such an evil piece of shit operation. I will always think of that Archer joke about Operation Paperclip, where Mallory basically jokes about how if you walked into NASA and yelled "Sieg Heil," everyone would snap up their arms.
Ah, good times. Just me and the boys working for the fatherland. What a time it was. We just changed.
It was the best of times.
It was the best of times. It was the worst
worst.
of times. We just changed managers. That's all that happened, bro.
And you didn't even have to go to Argentina. How nice.
Yeah, right? Absolutely amazing. We just changed one dogmatic, racist, segregated regime for another one. America was perfect in the 50s, if you believe people like Ben Shapiro. Let's just say, hypothetically, I'm a Barbie girl, and I am living in a hypothetical Barbie world, as it were. God, if any of you have seen Ben Shapiro's like tirade on the Barbie movie, it's the single funniest thing I've seen in a long time.
We're truly blessed that we can give careers to people who would otherwise be a waste of time by allowing them to scream about films for children.
That's the thing, it's not even a kid's movie.
I know.
What's amazing about it. I haven't even seen it yet.
Saw Oppenheimer. It's great.
Dude, I need to go see Oppenheimer.
So good. Again, everyone who's seen it does not know what the fuck that film is about. Jesus Christ. Like, I keep seeing these people make, like, they're like, oh, you know, you can't say, like, it should have been more straightforward. And it's like, no, it is literally basically to the point of just, like, pointing at the screen and saying, nukes have made the world a scarier place.
Again, I don't know so much.
That's what I mean. Like if you watch that film and you like come away with the takeaway that it's like, no, nukes are awesome actually, then I don't think you watch the film, or I don't think you understand textual. You're textually illiterate.
Have nukes made the world a more dangerous place? Absolutely. Have they made the world more peaceful? Well, all I'm saying is, if nuclear weapons weren't the head of NATO basically came out and said, if nuclear weapons weren't a factor, the United States and NATO would have intervened in Ukraine already. Like, simple as that. Like, the troops would have gone in. Like, we would be in Ukraine fighting right now if Russia didn't have a nuclear deterrent. He's come out and said it. So you can argue that like nuclear weapons have had a positive effect in terms of major conflicts between world powers, but pretending like they're a great thing. You see, this
betrayal of the betrayal of the Passatus roots.
Well, the thing is, right?
I can't admit that there's something wrong.
The thing is, right? Everyone sort of looks at me and goes, "Oh yeah, so you are in support of the atomic bombings during World War II," and I'm like, okay, yes, in the same reason that I support bombing Hamburg, bombing Dresden, or bombing Tokyo, or bombing anything else. And it's like, oh, so you wanted it to happen? You want the screams of Japanese school children on your hands? And I'm like, no. I don't want to level cities to the ground in huge fiery infernos. If I wanted that, how about I could go tell the Japanese and the Nazis, hey, maybe don't start a genocidal settler colonialist war that killed millions. Maybe that's it. That's like, I don't want these things to happen, but they're happening. There's a big difference about wishing something to happen and understanding why something happened or should happen or shouldn't happen or whatever. Anyone who, like, I have such a long list of grievances with the discourse on that particular topic that has come out. So much so that I have been at war on Twitter myself, which is usually something that you do.
Yeah, that's my job, not yours.
Yeah, that's the exact point that I make, Gamer Helson, is just, the nuclear weapons were absolutely fantastic in the sense that we can now accomplish with 9 aircraft and 1 weapon system what we were already doing with hundreds of aircraft and thousands of weapon systems. So, like... The one thing that irks me... The biggest... Well, okay. Everyone on the internet during this discourse has been talking about Mr. Skullman. Mr. Sean. And his big magnum opus he did on Hiroshima. Right? And his entire conceit for why they were unnecessary is that Operation Downfall, like the invasion of the Japanese home islands, wasn't going to happen. That is his entire conceit. That it was never going to happen, and that Truman was never going to authorize it, and that it was never going to happen, and so the whole thing was completely out of the question. Right? The thing is... Like, you know how we were always talking about, like, you know, primary sources and the weaknesses of primary sources? We were talking about it the other day. The only source for Operation Downfall isn't going to happen is Truman's diary from Truman himself. That is the only source. The only one. And people have been treating it like gospel, saying, well, Truman said it wasn't going to happen, so it's not going to happen. I don't know if you've read any of the memoirs by German generals, or any of Rommel's diaries, or Montgomery's diaries, or any of these other things, right? Famous figures, and you can see it today with people who release their own autobiographies like Elon and shit like that. Famous figures...
Don't be ridiculous. Elon would never write.
Even in, like, you know, even in their own personal journals, quotation marks, they censor it and write what they want to project later down the line themselves, because they know that their work is going to be used as a document to justify their position.
I mean, yeah, not to get, like, too true crime on main, but, like, there's literally famous historical, like, examples of, like, murderers using their diaries to try and create false alibis.
Yeah. That's right. If he is secretly one of those middle-aged housewives who listens to true crime podcasts, that's actually his secret identity.
Yes. It's how I get away from genocide studies. I take a break by listening to individual cases of people killing each other.
I just go for industrial killing like now. It's just more to the point, you know, it's more marketable, right? Like, gotta get... Oh, fuck, that's dark. That's too dark. Point is, it's just... Truman... Like, when you listen to all of Sean's sources in his video, you listen to what the language they're using, right? You listen to the language they're using. They say barbarous and horrible weapon, right? And then you look at when all these interviews and discussions were given, and they were given in, like, 1947, in 48, right? Even Bomber Harris, when you talk to him, like, post-war, and you look at him, well, we thought the bombing campaign would do this, but in the end it only did this, and reasons for this are simple. I advocated for this at the time, but, you know, now on reflection, I think this is probably would have been a better move. However, at the time, there was certain economic factors and all. They're doing the same thing that the Nazi generals did.
I mean, it's
exactly the same thing.
People love to quote the, people love to fucking quote Truman's military industrial complex essay, writing speech that he gave. after he was no longer president.
You mean Eisenhower?
Yeah, like Eisenhower's speech and stuff. But like Truman was aware of it, but like Truman was also aware that he'd have to minimize his role in like creating it, you know?
Absolutely. And this is my thing. And this is my problem with Sean's sources. All the shit that he's saying and like all the shit that he's talking about with like, oh, strategic bombing didn't work and strategic bombing was bad because of this and this and this and all that sort of thing. All the people he's sourcing and all the things that he's citing was said after the fact, right? Was said after the fact, and it was when the debate about it was kicking off, right? Because even during the war, strategic bombing was a complicated discussion. Like, during the phony war, like at the start, there was a whole debate about bombing Germany at all, because Kruppstahl and all those factories were private property. Even though they were making tanks for the military, those assets belonged to Kruppstahl, and as a result, like, that's a private citizen's money we're talking about here. We can't just bomb that.
Wouldn't want to threaten that.
No, we can't just bomb Kruppstahl. That would take money away from a private citizen. So we have to discuss. Like, there were debates about that, and the firebombing raids again, right? Like there was a huge debate about it, especially after the Butt report came out, and so when you have all these debates and discussions, and now Dresden happened. Dresden was the big one, right? Dresden.
Yes, the 400,000 dead at Dresden.
Yes, that's right. Thank you, David Irving. Anyway,
Thank you, David Irving. Couldn't read a document to save his goddamn life.
Literally citing Goebbels.
Sarcasm. David Irving could read them. He chose to not read them.
And so there was all these debates going on about strategic bombing at the time. And then you look at the language that Sean cited, like the sources he's using. And they're like, oh, this barbarous weapon, this evil thing, like, we could have avoided it and all that sort of thing. As if, like, razing Tokyo to the ground, killing 500,000 people with napalm, basically, wasn't a barbarous thing to do. Right? But Curtis LeMay didn't get shit for that. He got praised for it. He got results. Right? And so, what Sean's doing is he's constructing this narrative from people who are trying to distance themselves from the strategic bombing campaign. Because you look at them. People always talk about this, like Eisenhower and everything, how he's such an upright guy. Leahy, you've got Ernest King, you've got all these people. What do you think they all did after the war? What do you think? They all became politicians. Now, why would members of the General Staff, and just so you know, Joint Chiefs and General Staffs are political posts, why would generals who would go on to political postings in the Pentagon and retired Supreme Commanders who go into political careers to become presidents, why would they suddenly care about their image? Why would they suddenly want to distance themselves from the atomic bombings and strategic bombing campaign? Why would they? There's no conflict of interest or ulterior motive here, is there? At all.
No.
Absolutely none.
Politicians have never been known to put anyone above them. Politicians are the most selfless people on the planet. They've never, ever put anyone but themselves behind everyone else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The real heroes of our society.
The real heroes.
Firefighters, doctors, like veterans. Nah. Politicians.
Loggers. It should be important to remember, while I am anti, like, industrial scale logging just for the sake of,
we need more IKEA
what they're doing in the Amazon, but loggers have one of the highest fatality rates in any professional career. So, support our troops? ? And yes, Archilego, it is indeed V. It is me.
You can tell by the level of angry energy on this stream as opposed to nerdy energy. His role
That's
in
why
my
they bring me in.
His role in my Discord is a very angry man. That is his official role in my Discord.
It's true. And it's not far off from the truth. When I was like 21, I got so mad reading historical records that I literally bled from the eyes.
I don't blame you for that, by the way, because of what you were reading.
Yep. Reading about the Saint Bartholomew Day's massacre is enough to make anyone very, very, very angry.
This is the thing that gets me. But going back to what we were talking about, before we get distracted in the minutiae of fucked up historical record over even though that list is depressingly long. The biggest issue is, like, everyone's like, well, obviously, the next counter rejoinder to that discussion is because strategic bombing is bad and killing people is bad. Yes, absolutely, it is. I'm not going to say it's not. But the reason why... But I would argue that the reason why everyone got so touchy about it is not because of the military applications. It was about the political image of it. How it looked in the press. And, like, in terms of military utility, the arguments made against strategic bombing don't pass muster.
What happened in the St. Bartholomew's Day's massacre? Basically, it was a anti-Protestant massacre by Catholics in France. Awful. Truly awful. I can't recount most of the events on stream because we would violate all the rules, but we're talking forced abortions with tools, including knives, just, like, generally heinous behavior, like entire families wiped out for nothing more than questioning Catholicism in France as the official doctrine of the state. It was awful. The French were... I really feel like we don't... There's not enough talk about the French wars of religion in terms of how heinous they were.
I feel like there's not enough talk about French misconduct historically in general.
Yeah.
Mainly colonialism. The fact that France maintains its colonial empire today and nobody freaking talks about it.
That's why France is so mad about what's going on right now with Nigeria.
Yep. Because it's their money. Everything is fine until you realize that that the French euro is entirely floated by the fact that Africa still uses francs, which they have a monopoly control on. All of the currency in West Africa is called francs. So,
yep.
Who do you think has the central banking authority from that and gets to collect on all the interest and all the financial chicanery?
Olives and grapes are okay. Yes, it is gruesome. It's a horrible subject to read about and it's a horrible subject to think about, but it's one of those things that it really made me understand that people who are like, oh, things were better in the past, haven't read or understood history. People like, the vaunted perfect past where we were traditional and good. No, I don't think so.
Again, like a certain man that Ivy had a fight with on the internet the other day. People got mad about historians saying bad things about famous historical figures and why you're not making history fun because all the cool people are secretly fascists. I'm like, yes! The Spartans weren't nice people.
My favorite part of his argument was him getting really mad that that someone wrote an article about how the Spartans were losers in the literal sense of the word, as in they lost a lot. They lost their way out of relevance to Greece. That's why They didn't have the relevance. Athens did.
It's why, also, I know it gets brought up a lot, but it's why the line, those boy lovers in Athens in 300 pisses me off so much. I'm like, guys. If you're going to be throwing shade about boy love, I don't think the Spartans are the...
Wait, ripped the Spartans a new one at the beginning of his conquest, dedicating his victory to Greece, but not the Spartan.
Absolutely glorious when that happens.
Oh, just... History is nuanced, right? History is incredibly complicated. People want history to be simple. They want to be like, hell yeah, this is fucking awesome. This is fucking cool, right? But history isn't that simple. Maybe if you're a child, that's a way to get people into history.
Am I losing or winning? I don't know yet. We'll see how we go. We're doing all right so far. Yeah, so the big when I make a video, I need to do a lot of research and do my proper due diligence to make people like Freda happy.
Base Freda keeping history YouTube, like, honest.
No, because all I know is, even though he doesn't do it himself, if I don't chapter and reference literally every second word I say, Sean is just going to be like, oh, he didn't include the page reference of all things, so we have to take Mr. Animarchy history's word for it. I'm like, no. My big thing is, the discussion about strategic bombing always leaves out the entire discussion about the German response to the strategic bombing campaign in Europe and the Japanese response by contrast. Because yes, when you look at like actual efficacy of the bombing raids themselves, it's a bit sketchy. Like bomb site accuracy, operational tempo, areas destroyed versus its actual impact on the war economy, etc., etc., etc. But the real drain of the strategic bombing campaign wasn't actually the act of bombing itself. It's the resources that Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan had to allocate to trying to stop it. That's the real kicker. Because Germany had to relocate like 75% of its heavy anti-aircraft guns, 80% of its fighter force to try and stop it. Alright? Like, yes, did the bombs do a lot of damage to like the factory production? Not directly, no. German production went up. Productivity went up. But the thing is, it went up because the war economy was scaling up as the war went on. Ours did the same, despite getting hit by V1s and such, right? But the thing is, the Luftwaffe was forced to actually fight back. The Luftwaffe was forced to do battle with the 8th Air Force and the RAF. And by doing that, through attrition, operational tempo, and the destruction of them in battle, as you rightly point out, P-51 go Burr, it did far more damage. Like, the actual resource allocation by the Germans to countering the strategic bombing offensive is what did the real damage. And when we look at actually the effects of strategic bombing, yes, the production improved, right? But the allocation of that production was heavily reduced. Because to increase that production and to develop that productive force, the Germans had to decentralize their production and scatter their factories all over the place. which meant, yes, their factories were more survivable, but it put an immense strain on their rail net, especially given that a large sum of their rolling stock was being used for other purposes.
Other reasons.
YouTube terms and services. So, you know, the actual strain of dealing with the bombing offensive was more devastating than the actual damage the bombs were doing. Sean leaves that completely out. He leaves it completely out. And most people who are critics of strategic bombing leave that discussion out. End turn 2. And that's my problem with it. And as for the damage, yes. Bomber Harris's city-busting campaign wasn't very effective in terms of actual material damage on the German war effort. However, its damage to the logistics net, as in the rail distribution net, was very heavy. And when they switched over to the transport plan in preparation for D-Day, the results were immediate. Now, if they'd listened to the recommendations of the Air Ministry and gone after oil production, God. Bomber Harris and Lee Mallory are an absolute scourge. Harris is great for the memes. I don't feel bad about burning Nazis to death. Not really. But in terms of actual combat effectiveness, like, he dismissed the dams raid by the dams busters and targeting oil facilities. He dismissed them as, quote, panacea targets. He felt that doing raw damage to German infrastructure and German housing and, like, city busting, as it were, was more effective. And I frickin'... Dude. Lee Mallory and Harris are just... their egos. I think it's a miracle Charles Portal didn't actually strangle every single one of his officers. Like, honest to God, Portal had the patience of a saint. Eisenhower gets all the credit for being patient, but nah. Portal had the patience of a fucking saint. Yes, actually, the German pursuit of the YouTube Terms and Service Guideline violation really
this is such a productive historical discussion when we can't say words.
Love it, don't you?
Should we address tone and the people using it to deny the Holocaust? No, we will instead just put a blanket ban on anyone who discusses those certain words. I just said the fucking word.
You said the word. Well, there goes the monetization for this stream. Can we get some super chats, please? I know it's bad form to beg, but we can't monetize this now. Thanks, Ivy. Well done.
Sorry. It's such a natural word to say in this discussion. But yes, thanks, YouTube.
Thanks, YouTube. Big fans. The Yahtzees, the spicy pinwheel gang.
Ugh. TikTok and its consequences.
Mm-hmm. Get the Chinese spy balloon. It's the Chinese spy phones. Thank you, Joseph. Big appreciation. Okay,
Which
so
military leader during World War II was the hottest? Ooh.
Honestly,
At the time.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate it. Where is it? Where is my boy? No, where is he?
PLN, is that Filipino? Oh, Polish. That's cool. Ante Pavelic. My worst enemy. And a constant source of friction between me and my community. How fun.
If you want to know who I think the best looking leader, I mean, like, what do you define as leader? Like, how far up are we going? Are we talking like generals, or are we talking like squadron
actually,
leaders,
like,
or
leaders as well? Yeah,
or tank commanders, or because that's a complex question, and my answer is going to change depending on what you say. Because if you want my opinion, all of the generals were relatively ugly. Like, but when you get down to the... Actually...
we should all be liberated from capitalist urbanist development. Ugh. Actually, soon I'll be going to a town which has no development whatsoever. Sub 200 population, let's go!
Hmm. Where is he? Where's my boy? There he is!
Alright. It is time for me to hit the hay. It has been fun, chat. I'm terribly sorry for ruining the monetization.
Thank you, Coffee Monster. Here he is, guys. Here he is.
Find a grave.
Lieutenant Colonel Granville Attaway Sharp. What a Chad. Look at this man. Look at this man. That jawline. You could cut diamond with that jawline. You see this? Look at this man. The hair. The uniform. Look at this man. This man is a hero of mine. Now, he's one of my contenders, but he's not the best man. There can only be one true Giga Chad of World War II. Only one man. You know who he is. You should know who he is. Where's a good photo of him? Where is he? There he is. There he is. The Giga Chad. The absolute man with a plan. The coolest dude who ever lived. The absolute chaddest man to ever live. This man is who all men should aspire to be. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no, 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 no. This man, I kid you not, this man played jazz to Hitler's face after bad-mouthing him at a dinner party with the Gestapo the night before. I'm not kidding. I am not kidding. This man single-handedly saved the lives of at least 5 Allied POWs. Rescuing them from the desert, personally. The man is absolutely incredible. He is also the best fighter pilot to ever live. This man. I have a 2-part documentary on him, which you can watch on this channel. This kid, there will never be another man like him. Ever. He is the biggest G. Let me put it this way. When asked if he would join the Nazi Party, now here's the question. He was asked if he wanted to get into politics after World War II. He was asked if after the war's over, have you considered joining the party? You know, to get into politics. And Hans-Joachim Marseille's exact words were, "If there was a party worth joining, I'd consider it, but there had to be a lot of pretty girls in it." He is at a dinner table. He is at a dinner table with the German High Command and the Gestapo at dinner with him, and he has basically said, "I won't join the Nazi party because it's not worth joining." And then, the next week, he has a dinner party with Hitler and plays jazz in front of him, which was banned as degenerate word I can't say music. I'm not joking. This man, absolute Chad, the hottest man of World War II by far. He also, and I kid you not, was famous for stealing his commanding officer's car, going into town in the middle of the night, rizzing up every single waitress in town, getting them to have a threesome in the back of their commanding officer's car, and then getting them to drive him back to work at the airbase. I am not kidding. Kids these days talk about Riz. Nah, fam. They don't know what Riz is. Hans-Joachim Marseille is everything a man should aspire to be. Honestly. You be the best at your job, without question. No one is better than you. You strive hard every day to improve what you do. You don't let the big bosses in charge dictate your morals to you. You do what feels right. On numerous occasions, he would, if he shot down or, shot down or captured an Allied pilot, or if an Allied pilot was wounded and he was responsible for it, he would grab the guy's stuff, fly over to the enemy airfield that he flew from, and drop his stuff back to his friends. He would personally rescue Allied... If he shot down an Allied pilot who bailed out in the middle of the desert, he would radio in perfect English to the British, his coordinates so they could go pick him up. There's the kind of man he was. He was an absolute legend. A genuinely good person. Oh, he is a main character. Antioch Marseille is the main character. Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. He is the protag. Oh no, he did know. He did know. He found out. He found out what happened to his Jewish neighbors. Which is why he refused the Knight's Cross. The Knight's Cross with diamonds, believe it or not. Unfortunately, he died before he could receive them. And so they awarded them posthumously against his wishes, believe it or not. Marseille's distaste for the race and for the discussion about race and all that sort of thing, his distaste for that whole situation is one of the main reasons why he kept getting himself into trouble. His best friend, because he served in Africa, his name was the Star of Africa. A South African POW volunteered to help, volunteered as a driver with Jagerschwader 27. Because as you can imagine, the African soldiers of the South African units weren't exactly treated very well. Well, he became Marseille's best friend, and Marseille almost got sent to prison, basically, because senior generals would show up and find out that Nazi Germany's greatest hero was best friends with a black man. And he very nearly punched out a general for his insinuations. Which caused friction a little bit. He also cucked one of the Wehrmacht's highest ranking generals. They did turn him into a Moe Strike Witch girl. Let me see if I can find her. There she is. There you go. The safe for YouTube version. I can't show the other fan art of her because YouTube. Yes, his engine caught fire due to a production defect in the early model engines for the Gustav. Does she riz all the other pilots? The answer to that is yes. Hannah in the manga is very gay. Very, very gay. Although no one will ever separate her from her beloved Ryza. Ryza Potkin. I love Ryza. Ryza's great. Alright. Hmm. We're probably going to take Kyiv on the march, to be honest. Trust me, Strike Witches is a good time. I hope you like Yuri. Because there's a lot of it. You better like gay girls. And you better like them a lot. We're pushing up, boys. Looks like we caught some Russians in the open here. We're gonna have to wait until the rest of the boys catch up. We have to sort of centralize and control. We have to sort of get our guys back up together. We're just at the end of our logistical tail right now, so we can't really push any further from here. Do some recon flights here. Funny aha death mills are okay in games and historical videos, I think, but the amount of swearing Ivy and I did is not, so... This stream's gonna get demonetized to hell. There's no doubt about it. Especially given what we've been talking about. I'll have to do another World in Conflict stream to get that ad revenue. So we've regrouped the Panzers here, which is what we want. Okay, so there's rail. We want to go rail. '93rd Infantry Division! Yeah, we got the boys. We're going to assign them to these infantry divisions here, to these divisions here. These guys are assigned to Army Group Center, so they can go. I don't have enough rail points, so I'll have to walk, you guys. Sorry, guys. You have to transit manually. Hmm. Need to keep my security battalions along the roads. And move up these boys here. At the moment, we're in the breakthrough exploitation phase, so we don't have a front line stabilized yet. The Russians are still trying to stabilize theirs. But we're sort of just rolling on through. Once we get into position, once we start digging in, we're gonna get organized. So basically what I've done is I've done what historically happened. I've lunged forward. I've lunged forward and secured river crossings, but I haven't done anything drastic yet. So I'm going to wait for the infantry to arrive here around Smolensk. And then I'm going to launch a concerted infantry assault across the river. By which time, my tank divisions will be refitted and rearmed. And we're going to encircle the whole group here. Meanwhile, in the south, we're just going to keep advancing. Supplies are going to be an issue in the south here, though. But not for very much longer, because ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you know who it's time for? It's time for the Romanians! Here they come. It's our boys. The guys who get, like, 0 credit. Ooh. I know. I stream on YouTube because that's where my audience is, basically. If I stream on Twitch, I get like 40 people. If I stream on here, because you see, on here, I'm a partner. I'm a partner on YouTube. which wouldn't make me a partner. So here's what it is. Besides, Airshow is not a MiG-29. Airshow is a Su-27. Which obviously feels I am not partner material. I get more money on YouTube. Easily. YouTube pays far better than Twitch does. Far better. When I actually put ads in, that is. Alright, let's end the turn here, shall we? Let's see how we do. I will need to clean up Caroline, but right now I'm in the exploitation phase. I don't want to get bogged down too heavily. I'm getting my boys forward. Alright. Where are we at? Okay. So I've lost 74,000 men. The Soviets have lost 827,000 men. There we go. We've got behind Pskov. They're going to abandon it. There we go. We're going to move these units up, and we're going to move them to plug the gaps here and here and here and here. And then these guys are going to move up here. These guys are going to move up here. So we pull our armor back. Put the tanks on refit. Because we want to sort of sit back and let them recharge. Meanwhile, the infantry has arrived. There we go. Gonna move our guys up, get dug in. Get our guys on the front line, set up a stable front so we can sort of get organized. Then we can start thinking about punching a hole in this line and kicking Ivan back over the river. That's the goal anyway. Alright. We're clearing through the Pripyat Marsh, which always sucks. Go check in with Army Group South, see what's going on down here. What's good in the proverbial hood, as it were. Wipe out Soviet units in the south. Gonna do some air recon here. We're just gonna clear out the flanks here. This is what I like to call the staggered envelopment. Staggered envelopments are always fun. So as you can see, right? They thought they had me trapped in, right? They thought they had me locked up. But now, as we can see, I've just turned it around on them and encircled another bunch of their divisions just straight up. Nothing they can do about it. Suckering the Russians into a fight. And now... There we go. Wham. That's some beautiful stuff. Counter envelopment. I love it. I love it. There we go. Full-size mechanized division trapped just there as well. Every little bit helps, guys. Now we march on Odessa. Odessa's a big one. We need to capture that. There we go. There we go. Nice and clean. Gonna suck reorging everybody, but it always does. And send my repair crews down the way. And through the Pripyat Marsh we go. All right. Not gonna make that play yet. Circle Pskov, maybe. Eve's right there. Gotta love it, fellas. No, this is one I bought legit. This is my Steam copy. Alright. Here we go. Yes, there is a partisan mechanic, and it's the most annoying thing in the world. Partisans in this game are the most annoying thing ever. Oh no, a runtime error? No! I swear to God. Alright. Alright. I've been streaming for 3 hours. I think that's a good time to call it. It's 6 a.m. I can do it all again, it's fine, but I'll do it another time, because... Ugh. But yeah, factoring all that in, In case you guys... I'll be able to do it again. It's fine. But factoring all that in, here's the play. Here's what we're going to be doing. We're going to wipe out the remaining units. We're going to wipe out the remaining units in Army Group South's area of operations. We're going to take Kyiv. And we're going to move into the Don River Basin. Or the Dnieper River Basin, rather. We're going to get down to Kherson. We're going to cross Mogilev. We're going to cross and we're going to get these guys here up to the front line. We're going to stabilize the front line. We're going to get a couple of river crossings going and get a massed infantry assault to blow a hole in the line. So if you want to know what my plan is basically Army Group 6th Army, Paulus's 6th Army, which is Army Group South down here. So basically my plan is to establish a front line, to rearm and refuel, to regroup, get everyone together, right? And once that's done, I'm going to get the tanks to rearm and refuel and get resupplied. In those 2 or 3 turns that's happening, the Soviets are going to push their troops along the front line to try and dig in and try and secure. Once they do that, I'm going to blast a couple of holes in their line and encircle chunks of their front line with my tanks. So basically let the Russians set up a new front line and then blast a hole in that front line and encircle the next bunch. And so even though we're probably only going to get to maybe here, so if we drew a straight line from the edge of Crimea, like here, like if we drew, like, basically cut Ukraine in half, get to Vyazma up here, and I'm going to try and encircle Leningrad up here, right? So from this hex to this hex, we're going to try and get to there, and then before winter hits, we're just going to dig in. So when the Rasputica starts and winter starts coming in, I'm just going to dig in. Like, the moment the mud season hits, I'm digging in completely. All the tank divisions are going to be based in cities. The nearest city. So all the tanks are warm and inside. In garages. All the troops are going to be in bunkers that are, like, fully heated with wood logs covering them and everything. And we're going to be dug in like ticks. We're going to minimize winter attrition. We're going to minimize the effectiveness of the Soviet winter counteroffensive. And then when 1942 comes around, if we've taken Leningrad, awesome. Brilliant. If we haven't taken Leningrad, Leningrad is 1942. We take Leningrad. While maintaining a stable front. And then once that's done, the Finns will move up to take this part of the line. And then 1943 will be Case Blue. And Case Blue will be launched not just with Army Group South and Army Group, but with the tanks and equipment from Army Group North as well. So we'll have 6 Panzer divisions instead of just 3. And we take Baku. And then in 1944, when all the SS Panzer divisions turn up and all our cool units arrive, we finally make the push on Moscow. We take Moscow in late 43, 44, depending how it goes. And then, hopefully, we take it in like, you know, we take it in 43, hopefully, maybe. But we might have to take it in 44. We take Moscow in 44, and then, with the fuel from the Caucasus, Leningrad secured by the Finns, defensive forces taking Moscow, we redeploy all our fancy panzer divisions to the west and stop the Allies. And then we sue for peace and hope Daddy America goes away. That's the plan. The goal is to kill as many Russians as possible. And secure such a strong fortification, like such a strong fortified position, that they can't get rid of us. That's the plan anyway. Anyway, guys, I'm going to go to bed. But when I wake up, oh, guys, when I wake up, we're streaming again tonight. So in about 14 hours' time, we're going to be streaming again. And we're going to be streaming Bottom Gear. That's right. We're going to be streaming Bottom Gear. We will be joined by my second favorite co-host. My second favorite co-host, the Intergalactic Bin Man. And we will be playing Forza Horizon 4. And we will be doing automotive history this evening. We'll be talking about the history of cars. And planes and trains and all that sort of fun stuff. As well as British history as well. So, if you like cars, come by the stream later on tonight. Or in 14 hours time, depending on when that is. And we will be talking about automotive history. Anyway, guys. The racing game, yes. I don't just play military history games, you know. Anyway, gang, I'm going to go to bed now. So, I'm going to give you all an ad. Thank you. Good night.